Hi, I'm Jason Sterling. This is an RM Cascadian travel vlog dealing with my son and myself traveling on the Carnival Vista. And today we're going to talk about the Cheers program and tipping. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Cheers program on Carnival Cruise Line, specifically, I guess, the Carnival Vista, and tipping, not just on the program, but tipping in general. I got to thinking a lot about tipping, which is a very divisive subject when it came to this program, because this program and some of the upcharge restaurants, like, say, the steakhouse, include an 18% gratuity. So first we're going to tackle the program, though. First we're going to look at the program. The Cheers program is a program that allows up to 15 alcoholic drinks per day. Now, you can see from my stunning infographic I've included here kind of a general breakdown of what I drink per day on vacation on both sea days and port days. That's usually a concern. Do I drink enough to make it worth it? Now, I don't drink much on land. I really don't drink much at home, but on vacation I do, and especially on a cruise ship, which is a more contained environment. I'm not driving. I'm not even getting an Uber or a cab when I'm on the ship, I'm just walking. Now, that does not mean you should get so drunk you do something stupid like fall overboard or meet someone who's psychotic and they push you overboard. So keep your wits about you, okay? But it's 15 drinks per day as long as the drink is under $20, okay? And no doubles. You cannot order a double, so you can't order a double scotch or something like that, scotch and water, even if it's less than $20. Only single shot drinks. Also, if you're traveling on the Vista out of Galveston, out of Texas, the plan does not start till the second day due to Texas tax laws on liquor. So Carnival doesn't charge you for that first day. You only get charged for 6 days of the plan. Now, I've read places where people say on Royal Caribbean, they have a drink plan. You still have the drink plan in Texas on that first day. Okay, I don't doubt that. For whatever reason, Carnival doesn't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with collecting the taxes for the state of Texas and then remitting those taxes. So they just don't have the program on the first day. Now, it is $51.95 per day if you purchase it in advance. You get a 10% discount. So if you don't purchase it in advance, it's like about $56.95 per day on the ship, plus an 18% gratuity on the purchase price. All right? So roughly around, $9 a day in tip, I guess you could say. On that $51, bring it to around $61 a day for the drink plan, including that 18% gratuity. Now, if you look at my infographic, you can see that typically, and I don't think of myself as a heavy drinker, it just adds up really fast. In the morning, probably going to wake up with an Irish coffee or two, and then probably have a mimosa with brunch. So that's 3 drinks in about 4 hours. That's not really excessive. That's not a drink every 15 minutes. That's a drink about an hour, every hour and 20 minutes. Not really excessive at all. But still, that's 3 drinks by about 1 o'clock. Now, from 1 to 6 in the afternoon, about the same thing. I'm probably going to have a couple of frozen drinks on deck. Maybe a spiked milkshake or another frozen drink, but probably about 3 drinks in that 5-hour period. Again, not excessive, right? I mean, saying I had 3 drinks in 5 hours, most people aren't going to look at that and say, wow, you really have a problem, especially not on a cruise ship. Now, in the evening, I'm going to drink a little bit heavier. I'm probably going to have a glass of champagne before dinner, a glass of champagne with dinner. Probably at least 2 more drinks following dinner through the typical evening, and then another 2 drinks at least through the later evening. But that's pretty typical. So about 6 drinks, sounds like a lot, but about 6 drinks within a 7-hour span of time in the evening. Again, most people aren't going to say, oh, 7 hours from 6 to 1, you only had 6 drinks. Most people are going to see that as kind of moderate. So it's not as much as it seems. And I rarely get really drunk or something. It's more of a gentle sort of warm feeling, we'll call it, right? So it's not a lot. That's on a sea day. On a port day, you can see it doesn't change much, except in the morning and afternoon, I'm probably going to have a little bit less, but I'm still probably going to have around 9 drinks during the day, because the evening's not going to change much at all. It's not going to change at all. And you can see the totals there, sort of general totaling. It does add up fast, but you can tell with the price of drinks on the ship, it kind of makes sense. It definitely does. It definitely adds up. You can see from this kind of what you'd be dealing with. Now, that brings me into tipping. On this infographic, which you can see now, another very professionally done by myself. Yeah, I did this myself. You can kind of see what the tipping program for Cheers is. Okay, so you pay for the program over 6 days. It's around $311.70, roughly. And an 18% gratuity on that is $56.11, roughly, for all 6 days. Okay, that's for the entire program. Now, the normal drink cost of what I order on 3 sea days, as you can see there, in 3 port days, average runs about $625.07. That's actually pretty accurate, too. It's about what I would normally spend on the ship for drinks. Except that normally I would tip 20% on the ship, and I would tip 20% on land. So if I go out to a sports bar or a restaurant bar or something, I'm going to tip 20% on land. And if I were to tip 20%, my tips would equal around $125.01, roughly. Which means paying on the costs of the program, the server who's doing just as much work is actually making less than half of what I would normally tip him or her. I say him in a purely sexist manner, or her. Usually my bartenders on the ship are female, so her. And so here's what I do. Here's what I do with that, because some people will say, well, that's all they're going to get because that's Carnival's rules, and I'm following Carnival's rules, so I'm not doing anything wrong, and they got their tip just as they deserved based on what I spent. Okay, fine. But as you can see here, it's less than half if I wasn't using the program. Less than half. So what I do is I tip an additional $1 on every drink. Okay, at least an additional $1, but an additional $1 on every drink, which over that 6 days equals an additional $63. And pretty much balances out what I would tip on the ship compared to what I would tip on land, right? Now, I also tip sometimes $2. Okay, so if I'm up on deck and it's a server on deck, and they had to walk down a deck or two to the bar to get my drink and walk up a deck or two to bring the drink to me, I'm probably going to tip $2. I would say always, but hell, I don't know. I haven't looked at my receipts, but pretty much always I'm going to tip $2 because they went through a lot of extra trouble to do that. The same thing would be true, if I'm at Alchemy and it's a really complicated drink, then chances are I'm going to tip $2 because they went through a lot of extra effort, especially compared to just pouring a glass of champagne, right? So that does help make up that extra missing $6 there roughly and balances everything out. And I do think that's fair. These people are working really hard. And despite the argument that, hey, well, it's better than what they can make at home, it is. It is better than what they would probably make at home. And they're making a great living compared to the standard of living at their home country. Yeah, probably it is. Still doesn't change the fact that they're usually working, 6 days at least, probably 7. I mean, I think they do get a day off every couple of weeks to go into port. Maybe they get a couple of hours off to go into port. But basically, they're working almost every waking hour, okay, for 6 or 7 days, for months at a time. And that does deserve, I feel like some compensation there. So that's my talk on that. That's true, though, too, on, like I said, like with the steakhouse. I don't know if it's with Casino de Capitano and Gigi's Asian. I can't remember if there's a built-in gratuity there. I think there is. But if you go to the steakhouse and it says this $38 includes your 18% gratuity, okay, sure, it does, technically. But if I ate at a steakhouse, I would spend probably at least double that amount. And so I do tip more, especially if it's good service. I'm going to tip more there as well, to kind of balance out between real life cost on land and costs on the ship. Now, let's talk about tipping in general. Tipping, like the prepaid gratuities, they may call it, or the automatic gratuities if you don't prepay, they put on every single day. That is supposed to meant to tip your room staff and your dining staff. There's this is a big debate with people. There's always a lot of derision and division over this subject. I always tip the recommended amount. Either I prepay, or if I have a large on-cruise credit for some reason, then I'll just let them charge it every day, But I also tip in addition. Especially my room staff, I especially do tip them in addition. Sometimes the dining staff too. It's harder with dining staff because you don't see the same people every single night, but you can always leave an extra tip on the table. Or, if you want to be someone's best friend, leave a tip at the pizza place. Those guys never get tipped. And you tip for pizza at home, right? Leave a tip there. Leave a tip with the guys at the seafood shack or something, or at the buffet. Surprise the person clearing off the table. I do agree with that. Definitely, though, pay the sort of recommended gratuities. Either prepay or leave it on there each day. They do deserve it. I don't think it's excessive. I've heard all the arguments. My 2-year-old shouldn't have to pay the full amount because they're 2. Well, so they still require a lot of work. In fact, sometimes 2-year-olds require more work in a room or at dinner. Well, especially at dinner. They require more work. I've heard the argument of, well, Carnival should just pay them more. Why should I have to pay them? No, granted, Carnival should pay them more, but they're just going to increase the price of the cruise. But maybe they should. Maybe they should increase the price of the cruise, and gratuities are included. Maybe they should. But be prepared. One way or another, you're going to pay for it, because there's not a company in this world that's going to say, hey, we'll just pay our people more, without eventually, in some fashion, passing that cost on. They do. No one ever looks and says, oh, we made $1 billion last year. Let's pay our people more and tell our investors that we're just not going to make as much money next year. Right. I would also say, and this is going to be the big part of the tip talk, I am not a big fan of gifting in lieu of tipping. I have heard a lot of arguments for it. Most of the arguments start with, I really enjoy picking out stuff for them and putting together gift bags or what have you, and giving it to them and seeing their reaction. And that's fine. That's a big part of gift giving. But is that really about you or about them? I mean, are you really giving them a gift, or are you doing something that you really enjoy? Now, a lot of people would say both. And under normal gift-giving circumstances, like with friends and family, it is both. My argument with that is, first of all, we don't know these people. We don't know what they like. And the retort that, well, if they don't like these chocolate bars or they don't like these chips, they can just give them to other people on the ship, is weak at best. We don't know what they like. Okay, they're not friends, they're not family. And they don't have a lot of room. They don't. Look up any videos, and I don't mean videos about an officer's quarters. Look up videos about your average employee on a cruise ship and how much room they have to store anything, period. There's not a lot of room. Look how much room you have, and you're paying. There's not a lot of room. They don't have a place to store it. They can't afford to send it home. The other argument, they can send it home to their families. Well, no. I mean, they can, in theory, but then it costs. It costs to mail stuff home, you know. The thing is, they're there to do a job, and they're there to earn money to send home to their families. And while chocolate is nice, and yes, they're always going to thank you. I work in the service industry. It doesn't matter what sort of gift I've ever gotten in my life. I've always thanked the person that gave it to me, and it was always fantastic and exactly what I wanted, even when it wasn't. That's how it works. You're not going to hurt someone's feelings. But at the end of the day, if they just got a basket full of chocolate, and what they really need is money to send home because grandmother needs some sort of medical procedure that costs money, not chocolate. They really just don't need it. And they don't need hats or T-shirts or blankets. I've heard people say, well, I took them a blanket and they were so thankful. Really? In the Caribbean? In the Caribbean, they were thankful for that blanket because, I don't know. No, I'm going to say that. And I think sometimes people do it because maybe they don't have very much to tip. And I know this is what happens in real life off the ship. You know, you give someone a bottle of wine for Christmas because if you took them $7 or $10 in a card and said, here's your Christmas gift, they would look cheap. They're afraid they would look cheap. You know, they're afraid of they're going to get you like cheap bastard. You know. So they give them a bottle of wine because then it looks like more than it is. It looks more substantial. And I think sometimes people feel that way on the ship. But I promise you, they would rather have the money. They would rather have the money. And I'm going to say real quick, because I do understand this. If you just don't have a lot of money and, you know, you're in the cheapest room on the ship and you didn't buy the Cheers program and you're not eating in the upcharge restaurants because you just don't have the money and you really do want to take a vacation just like everybody else in this country and this world. You really do. And you just want to get out there and you want to be on the water and you want to feel that fresh air and you want to feel that breeze and you want to walk around in the ports of call, even though it's just going to look like an American shopping mall. You still want to go. I understand that. Of course I do. You know, I grew up really poor and I do understand people wanting to be able to do that. And I think you should. I think even when you really can't afford to tip and go on the vacation, yeah, I think you should. I do. There's probably enough people like myself who are going to make it up along the way. Now, if you can afford to tip, this is not your excuse. This is for people. This is their only way to go. And I do understand that. And I do think you should go. And I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. Because I do understand. I mean, I've seen people say, oh, well, if you can't afford to tip, you just can't afford to go on vacation. You shouldn't go. No, of course you want to go. Of course you do. And I do understand that. Now, I would say before you spend $10 on chocolate bars, because that's all you have, and you think that's going to look like more than $10, don't do it. Yeah, no, save up $10 for a tip for your room steward, and leave them $10 with a really nice note, you know, that you wrote thanking them. And leave it at that. They'll appreciate it. They will. I know. I'm in the service industry. I do know that. Yeah, we even appreciate like a small tip, small amount. Of course we do. So that's what I would say. And I would say go. I would say go. So that's my feelings on tipping. Please feel free to post your own feelings, your own takes on it. I know there's a lot of them. I know there is. And if you really like to do gifts, so hell, keep doing it. That's what you like to do. Who cares what I said? That's my thoughts. That's my feelings on it. That's my take on it. But you can make your own decisions, And I hope to see you next time. Next time we're going to talk about entertainment on the ship and excursions off the ship. And please hit subscribe, notify, and what's the other one? Like, subscribe, and notify. That way you can see that next video. Leave any comments you have. Please feel free to do so. I'm very understanding. I do understand people have a lot of different opinions on this. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.